Welcome everyone back with me, Valerie Williams here of Dimensional Talent Streams. Today, as promised, I have a special guest again. She's graced us with our presence before, Linda Gordon-Wilson, who is in the house with us today, who is going to share her expertise in business and some of the things that she's doing in her business. But specifically today, I want to talk about, we're in the fourth quarter of the year. And as business owners, even if you're not a business owner, what are you doing for tax readiness? There's been a lot of misconception out there that we wait until the last minute when we actually get all our W-2s, W-4s, and all the particulars that we need to file our taxes. But what are we doing prior to that to get ourselves in tip-top shape so that when everything that comes in through the mail, so that we can bring that to our accountant, our CPAs, whomever, we have an idea of what condition we're going into. We have all of our papers, all of our ducks in a row. So I've got Linda here to jump in. I've been studying a lot of tax code, and I actually love it. One of my mentors has been really pushing me to, as a business owner, learn how to file my taxes. If I don't, I should have a foundation of and knowing what to itemize, know what conversation to have with my CPA when I'm doing my deductions and expenses and revenue reporting. And so we've got Linda in the house. Linda, welcome back. So glad to have you.
Well, Valerie, thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you so much for having me back on the show today. I am delighted to be here with you. And what you said is exactly right. Right now, in the fourth quarter, is when you should be doing your proactive tax planning. And if you don't know how to do that, if you own a small or mid-sized business, or if you're an individual that's a W-2 employee and you're making $100,000 a year or more in salary, either one of those, what I would like to do is just simply set you up with a free consultation with our tax master. And if he can't save you 30% on your federal taxes, he won't move forward with you. But typically, he saves our clients at least that much, sometimes more. And there are little known tax strategy planning techniques that people can use that are totally legal, totally moral, totally ethical, but they're little known parts of the tax code. Because if you look at the tax code, I think it's something over 11,000 pages now. And your normal, local and regional CPAs focus on about the 3,000 pages where they're checking off the boxes and making sure that you're putting the right numbers. They're keeping you compliant. A good CPA is worth their weight in gold. We don't take the place of your regular CPA. We work with them to help you take the tax credits and the tax deductions that you're entitled to take. And so I would say to anyone out there that's listening to the show today that is a mid-sized business owner or what we call a highly compensated W-2 employee, get with me and see what we can do to save you some money. Because right now, from now until January 1st is the time to do that planning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I can't say enough about that. That's my soapbox right now. We talked about CPA, and like I said, I am learning. One of my mentors, Lynn Richardson, has really been pushing me, and another, Carla Richardson, have been pushing me with tax code and really learning how to, document more efficiently and just having everything document like crazy, and the software and so forth to make everything easy, itemizing, mileage and all of that stuff. But with CPAs now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Linda, I'm going to defer to you for your expertise. I have learned, now I know we've got a mixed audience. We've got some that maybe already have their CPAs. We may even have some listening that don't even have a CPA. Maybe they are one of those that have used those automated tax filing things like TurboTax and all of that. And if you are doing yourself a huge disservice. If you are using one of those automate, do-it-yourself tax things, stop. Don't stop, because you're doing yourself a disservice. It's really time for those who have never dived into learning what those deductions are that you can take and all of that to maximize, get your money back. And in order to, we've never played a game before where we haven't learned the rules. When we play a game, we learn the rules. When we watch sports, we learn the rules of the sports. It is the same with our taxes. And I'm learning now, Linda, not to be afraid of the IRS. If there's fear with the IRS, it is because we lack the education. It is because we lack certain things, and that's why we are fearful. If we're doing what we need to be doing about learning how to file taxes, getting knowledgeable, getting yourself out there and learning and taking a tax class, or even getting with somebody, even a referral, talk to your friends, talk to family, talk to coworkers, get a name, get a referral, sit down, meet and talk, and start educating yourselves, because that is how you get your money back. When I think about the wealthy and the rich, they are not rich only because of the billions that they make. One of the major reasons why the rich are so rich is because they get all of their deductions during tax time. They know, they have their CPA on retainer, or they're meeting with them on a frequent basis to know all of the things that they need to be claiming and to be itemizing. And it's an ongoing conversation. It's not till the end of the year, or it's not till January, February, when all of your documentation comes in that you should be filing. So with that being said, what are some of the questions? Because I want to kind of target a little bit of both of our audience, because we have those who already have their CPAs, they may be mid-level business, high-level business, and then we may have some on the opposite spectrum who don't even have a clue of what we're talking about today, Linda. They fall in that basket where they're doing TurboTax, or they go to H&R Block and explain to us, because I can, but you can do it so much better, why it's important that now, I don't want to knock H&R Block, but tell us why it's better to invest a little bit more into a CPA, good accountant, and what questions can we ask when we are trying to find a good CPA or an accountant?
Ask for referrals, other businesses. And here's kind of the breaking point, if you will. If your business or you personally are making under $90,000 a year, you're a startup business, or you're a new business, or your W-2 income is not quite up there. And I can say, if you're a married couple, if your joint income is 100,000 or over, you should be getting some proactive tax planning. So it might not be just one single income. It might be a dual income situation, but there are so many legal. Let me back up here just a minute and give you one really good example for small businesses.
Come on, Linda.
Okay. In 2020, we had, because of COVID, what is called the Employee Retention Tax Credit. It allowed small businesses with 5 or more W-2 employees, not counting owners or relatives. In other words, if they had their wife and their son working for them, that was 3, that didn't count for the 5. They had to have 5 unrelated W-2 employees.
Okay.
On up to 500. So between 5 and 500, that's a pretty big range, but that's what the IRS, anything under 500, the IRS classifies as a small business. Okay, so I'm going to talk about restaurants, because every single restaurant in the country was affected by COVID in 2020, and many of them are still being affected by COVID. And so the law in 2020 allowed them to take a $5,000 credit if they didn't take a PPP loan. Well, as we know, almost everybody out there that was eligible for a PPP loan took the PPP loan. All right. So that money sat there. What most CPAs didn't keep up with, the big 4 firms do, because they have tax attorneys on their staff looking for these things and watching for these things. But the local and regional CPAs didn't keep up with this. In 2021, the Biden administration changed that law. So those small businesses can now go back and take $5,000 per employee for 2020, even if they had a PPP loan. And in 2021, it jumped up to $7,000 per quarter per employee. So the total that's there for small businesses is $33,000 per employee. So think about that. A small business, say with 10, a small restaurant with 10 employees, that's really a small restaurant.
Right.
Most of them have 20 or 25. 10 employees and they qualify, that's $330,000. For a small business, that's enough money to keep them open.
Right.
To keep them going through the rest of this year and on into next year. That's probably more than what they made in, the previous 2 years put together.
Right.
And it's money that's sitting there and it's going to go away December 31st. So, there's some scrambling going on out there because now the companies like mine, like North Star Marketing Group, have a system in place right on our website at northstarmarketinggroup.com where small business owners can go and take a short quiz that takes them less than a minute. And that quiz will come up and tell them, yes, you qualify, or no, you don't. Right then and there, right in front.
Oh, I love it.
Immediately.
That's huge. That's huge.
And then if they do qualify, a calendar pops up and they can make an appointment with one of our experts. They don't even have to talk to me. They can just go there and look for the, do you qualify for a tax refund? And then there's a separate link for the employee tax credit, the ERTC, Employee Retention Tax Credit quiz. And so that's just one example. And CPAs have not kept up with that because it's going away December 31st. So they haven't bothered to educate themselves, which is not going to affect them next year unless Congress continues it for next year, which they very well could do.
Right. And that is why it is so important for the listening audience, those who are going to be viewing this, however you're going to hear this, because I can't even shout from the mountaintops, and I'm just like, ooh. I can't even say it more than enough. I mean, there's another couple, business couple that, that I follow, and they've been kind of preaching that same message. Fourth quarter drop. What are we doing? What are we doing to be tax ready? You should know before you even get in there where you stand tax wise. But this is so critical as to why we have to educate ourselves. The Bible talks about we perish for lack of knowledge. And it is so, it is so true. We're seeing that, this is a perfect example, but this is an example of why we need to educate ourselves, because the CPAs, when you go at, I'm going to have you address your audience, the audience that is the mid-sized business, large size, and I'm going to address these self-starters, slash, they're part-time business owner or full-time business, but they're startups. And I want to address those people that this is why you have to educate yourself, because if you are using H&R Block or you are doing TurboTax, you're missing out on these deductions that are out there. And if your accountant can't keep up with that, I mean, we have a responsibility. Gone are the days when we just took all our papers and said, here, file my taxes and I'll just pay you. Those days are long gone. They have been, and this is why, when we can't get mad now when we say the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. We can no longer say that because of all the programs that are out there for small business owners as a result of the pandemic. And then because of all the information that is out there to try to educate us on tax code. And it sounds intimidating, but if you make it about, okay, I want all my money and my money's going out the window and I need to be able to get my money and find out where it's going. That's what tax code is. It's going to tell you how to get your money back, and it's going to tell you how to do it legally, ethically, and morally. And it goes back to knowing how to play the game. You cannot play the game unless you know the rules. And tax code is the rules so that you can get back all your money. And so if you are out there, small business owner, startup, you are one of those out there doing TurboTax, H&R Block, it's time for you to learn what your deductions are that you are eligible for, because you've got money going out the window. You've got money going out the window. And I'm preaching to me because until I got into business, my whole paradigm changed. Until, I had mentors coming into my life, instantly my life changed about how I was doing things and how I was recording things and being accountable and even more so, more organized. And so I just put that out there for the startups, small business owners, maybe, your revenue is not up to, what Linda may be sharing, but you don't count yourself out of this conversation, because for those small business owners, there's 475 tax deductions. Now, you cannot know what those tax deductions are unless you start getting yourself educated. I belong to a Midas IQ tax university school that I'm in, learning this stuff. But for me, it's fun because it's like, okay, I'm following this trail. And it's not only for me, but then I can help other people learn how to, like you, Linda, get their money back. So,
and I would say that for for small businesses, if you're under that 100,000 a year, go to your local. Every single county has a economic development council. So look up your economic development council in your small county, and even some of the online sources like QuickBooks. QuickBooks has a tax planning division for small businesses and for individuals. If you're a startup business and your business is maybe making 50,000 a year, it's not quite up to that 100,000, but you know that there are tax deductions that you could be taking that you don't know about. You said it exactly right, Valerie. Educate yourself and get some help. There are online sources, there are walk-in sources. Check with your county's economic development council. Ours here, where I live in Washington State, my county did one about 3 weeks ago on the ERTC, specifically about what businesses should be doing to make sure that they claim that credit. And that's a lot of money. I mean, one of my agents just got back for a small business owner, a small restaurant owner in Oklahoma. He has 3 small restaurants, and cumulatively among the 3, we're getting back $323,000 for him. He's ecstatic.
Oh, that's such a mic drop.
And the QuickBooks has they've got some good business training on there, that's online, where you can educate yourself. And there's the Economic Development Council in your county, and there are other sources. It's going to vary from city to city or from county to county. The resources that are out there are going to vary. But you can even go to the small businesses, self-employed, right on the IRS side. You can look up articles in Forbes. You can there are online sources where you can actually ask a tax professional a question that if there's something that you don't know. The point is, there's a plethora of different resources out there for the smaller or startup business. Avail yourself of those resources, because that's money you could be putting back into your business.
Right. And Linda, give us your information again, your business, your website. You mentioned it earlier. Just give that again to us.
Sure. I am northstarmarketinggroup.com. And if you go to that website, I mean, my business is North Star Marketing Group Incorporated. And just to give you a little bit about my background, I've gone back and forth from financial services to high tech for over 30 years now. For the last almost 7 years now, I've been working in the business owner arena, doing what I call profit recovery. Because with some of those tax planning those credits that are available. We can actually go back 3 years. There is a statute of limitations that the IRS puts in place that caps it at 3 years, but we go back 3 years and we can get that money back for business owners
That's
that they
right.
have left on the table. And so if people are interested in connecting with me, they just go to my website. There's a contact form on there. There's a phone number. There's an email address. You can call me, you can text me, you can email me. You can fill out the form on my website, or you can just, if you are interested in the ERTC specifically, there's actually a short quiz and video. And the other thing that's on the website, there's a short video of Senator Grassley from Iowa talking to a group of business owners specifically about the tax credits that they're leaving, the money they're leaving on the table.
Mm-hmm.
And, what I like to ask people is, have you ever in your tax paying life ever received a letter from the IRS saying, gee, we think you overpaid your taxes because you didn't take this credit. You need to fill out yeah, you're already shaking your head. You need to fill out this form and we're going to send you another $200,000. No, none of us individually, and not a single business out there has ever received that letter. Now, I can guarantee you there are a lot of them that have received a letter that have said, you underpaid your taxes. You owe us another X amount of dollars. As an individual, I've received a couple of those over the last 30 years, but, I've argued with them, but, they usually win. And they found something where I still owe them the money and you end up paying, but the point is, nobody's ever received a letter like that. You have to show up. You have to file for that refund. You have to file for that credit. You have to ask for it, because nobody at the IRS is going to give it to you. The IRS is the biggest collection agency in the world.
I'm telling you, I don't know. I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat, and this is probably the second time we've had Miss Linda Wilson Gordon with us. And every time she comes, I mean, I'm always on the edge of my seat, like, yes, yes, yes. And just like biting my nails. And, I don't know about you guys who are listening, watching, wherever you are, but there's no reason why anybody should be left behind. I'm going to say that again. There's no reason why anyone should be left behind, because the two of us are on here. I'm representing those small businesses, the startups. Linda's is the mid-size, large size, so there is no reason why anybody should left behind. And I almost sense and I can hear people saying, like, I'm overwhelmed, like I'm totally overwhelmed. And that is understandable, but it is also a part of the fear. The first thing to do, start talking to friends and families. Look within your own backyard of who do you know, and start asking, do they know a good CPA? Do they need a good accountant? Start social media. I mean, is not only good for, these celebrities and what they're doing and but use that social media to see who is on there talking about this very, very subject that is noteworthy, that can be trustworthy. Do your homework on them. Do your due diligence. As Linda said, show up and ask for it. This is one of the things that COVID has done. It's been an opportunity in disguise. If we can just kind of pull ourselves back. And yes, we have experienced a lot of loss in the midst of COVID, but at the same time, there is opportunity, unconventional opportunity that's available to us. And if we can just tap into that and come down a little bit. So here we are, we have tax time. Here's an opportunity for you guys, everyone listening, to figure out how you're going to get everything that's entitled to you, that you have rights to. And it starts with these deductions and a good CPA. Good mentors who are going to keep you accountable, but it doesn't stop there. It's not it's not a certain time of the year. It's not an event. It's not an event. It's an ongoing journey. And again, I'll say it. How are the rich getting richer? Because they know about their deductions. They know what they can, and if they don't, they know where to go so that they're getting every itemization, every deduction. And that's how the rich are getting richer. The poor are getting poorer because we're not educated in that area. And so that is what today is all about, this discussion is pulling us in to get us more educated and get these resources out there. Now, for the small business owner, the startups really is who I want to focus on. Maybe you are not making what Linda has mentioned and you feel like, well, that disqualifies me, I can come out of the conversation. I'm going to say no again to you. And I will post a link in the description of this session so that you can know the resources that I use, and some of my mentors that I use: Lynn Richardson, Sandy Botkin of Midas Tax IQ, Lynn Richardson from Wealth University. She's got a plethora of information on tax code and how to get your money back and getting yourself ready, taking advantage of this fourth quarter. So Linda, I'm going to go back to you, Linda, and ask now, we don't really ask questions. And I guess it's because people don't know what questions to ask. And I think that's where a lot of the fear, the intimidation comes in, and we just think we can just pass this off because people don't know the right questions to ask when they are going or wanting to look for a CPA. And I have learned that in my course here of asking the right questions. You have the right to interview CPAs and accountants to see if they're going to be a match for you. So what would you say some of the questions are when you're talking to a CPA or an accountant to see if they're a match for you, to understand, for example, one of the questions I know I ask my CPA is, what is your risk tolerance? What do you think about a tax audit? Because that's going to tell me, let me hear their thoughts for a tax audit, because a tax audit is not necessarily bad if you have all your ducks in a row. It's going to be bad if you don't have your receipts and your documentation, but it's not anything to be scared of if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So when I first met my CPA, I asked him, I said, okay, what's your ideas on tax audit? Where do you stand with that? What is your risk tolerance? Are you how aggressive versus how conservative are you when it comes to expenses versus, revenue output? So those are some of the questions I ask. What are some other questions you would suggest, Linda, that we can ask our CPAs? Because a lot of people don't know what questions they should ask.
I would go right on with where you're going there with the tax audits. I would ask them what percentage of their clients get audited, or what percentage over the last 3 years have been audited. And that gives you a really good answer. I would also ask, what's the percentage, what's the breakdown on their book of business? How many business clients do they have? And how many personal clients do they have? Because most CPA offices that are local or regional will have a mix, and it'll be about 30 to 40% business owners and 60 to 70% individuals. That's a good mix. If it's lower than that, if they only have, maybe 10% businesses and 90% individuals, I keep looking, because they are not experienced enough in the business owner marketplace, and especially in the small business owner marketplace. That's one of the things that I would ask. And then I would say, are you looking at retiring or selling your business anytime soon? Because you want some continuity. You don't want to start working with somebody this year and then have them sell their business or retire next year. And now you go,
excellent point.
And it's
excellent point.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with going with somebody that's highly experienced, but you want to make sure they're going to be there, or they're training someone, they're working with they're mentoring someone to take over their book of business. Which typically they do. If they're going to retire or they're going to sell their business, they will generally stay on for at least a year, and sometimes 2 or 3 years, to mentor or train the people that are taking over that book of business. And so you want to know that too. And then, ask them, what is your experience in finding the deductions that small business owners are entitled to take advantage of? And, get real nitty gritty with them.
Right.
And then, personality type, can you work well with this personality?
Right.
Because that's important too. Your CPA, by the time you're done, they're going to know every little detail of your life.
Right.
And, you know, so you've got to know that it's somebody you can work well with over the long term.
Mhm, mhm. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I just hear the mic drops, dropping, dropping left and right. I just hear them dropping. Good stuff good stuff. Yeah, and the other thing I would say for a couple of additional questions to ask is ask if that CPA or an accountant is available all year round.
Yes.
So that this is not, we're not making an event out of this. This truly is a journey, and we're not waiting until the last minute. Because again, going back to the wealthy, they meet with they have a team of CPAs, and they're meeting with them regularly. And as far as answering the question, well, how often should you meet with your CPA? I would say quarterly.
Yep.
I would say quarterly that you are to be meeting, because by the time tax time comes, you want to have an idea of where you stand before you actually do your actual filing.
And you want to make sure that you should always do a quick background check, and make sure that in their state board of accountancy, you can do a search for that individual's license, whatever state you're in. I'm in Washington, you're in Georgia, and you can go to your state board and make sure that they're licensed, obviously, and make sure that they have a preparer tax identification number, and then make sure that they are going to sign your return, not you, them. They're on the line if they've done the work, and then make sure that they offer audit protection. If they're a good, reputable firm, they're going to offer audit protection.
Yes, that's huge. I mean, it's all huge, but yes, audit protection and them signing, very, very huge. Thank you for adding that.
I mean, that's critical. If they say, oh, I'll prepare your return, but you have to sign it, keep looking.
Right. What else would you encourage listeners and viewers today, based on what we've discussed so far, Linda? I mean, I always say my soapbox. I have, my soapbox, which is not waiting until March, February, January, February, March, April. That is my soapbox today. Fourth quarter, this is the last quarter of the year. Make it count, don't wait. And then January comes and it's like, okay, I've got to add to my list of New Year resolutions. No, have a fourth quarter resolution, in place now. So that's
the tax season just ended today, and you've made an extremely good point. It just ended today, October 15th. Because most businesses out there will file an extension. They don't file their taxes April 15th, they file them October 15th. I've been on the line with a couple of different clients this last week, trying to get some last minute information into our proactive tax master to make sure that we are getting information in from last year, to make sure that they have taken advantage of everything they are entitled to take advantage of. And so, it's then, first quarter of next year, or like right now is the time to be interviewing those CPAs. They have a little bit of a lull. Do it between now and the 1st of December, because most of them will take off for the month of December. So you've got October, November to do those, questions and those interviews, and find a CPA that you can work with. If you put it off until January, now they're gearing up for the individual tax season, which is from the 1st of January to the 15th of April, unless for some reason Congress extends that again, which they have done the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't expect that. I don't expect to see that in 2022, but you never know what they're going to do. But just be prepared to file your taxes on time. And so the CPAs are too busy to do interviews. If you call them up and you say, I'm interviewing for a new CPA, they'll say, well, get back to me in May. That'll be their answer.
Yeah.
So, right now is the time. I mean, you couldn't be more right on with that, Valerie.
Excellent, excellent, good deal. That's why I love, having this cross-pollination, and it's so good to, not be scared to talk to people, not being fearful of somebody knowing more than you do. I mean, it's so liberating and so freeing. And, I think that's a part of the mix too, with the whole fear factor, intimidation, the what I want to say, being lethargic and not being so, doing our due diligence when it comes to this, because the tide has really shifted. And it shifted in our favor, but we are going to have to show up. We're going to have to do the digging. We're going to have to do the homework. I put a quote up on my social media this week about freedom, that freedom really is not free, that freedom really comes through hard work.
And nowadays, it's really important to ask them about their background and their rates, and if they're a paper-based firm or an electronic firm. And that's a personal preference. I mean, most people prefer electronic now.
Right.
But there are some people out there that, may want to see those pieces of paper, for whatever reason. So, but you need to know their background, and you need to know what they're going to charge you for the scope of the work.
Right.
And they may not be able to give you an exact answer, but they can give you a range. They're going to say, well, to do this, this, and this, it's going to cost you between this and this. They may say, okay, it's going to cost you between $800 and $1,200. So now you've got a range, and and you can write that down and have them give you a proposal. Don't be afraid to ask.
Right. And the other thing is not being afraid of, if they're on the 1,200 end of the scale, not being fearful of it, because you've got to look at the long haul and the scope of the work that they're doing and what they are going to be doing as far as making sure you get all your deductions and your itemizations. And so, 1,200 is nothing compared to, the amount of deductions that they are going to be working on to make sure that you're not missing out on. So not being fearful, but you, again, going back to the knowledge of what Linda said, knowing the scope of the work that they're going to be doing, and based upon your individual case, because everybody's case is different. Everybody's different. So not being afraid of that. Linda, what can you tell us? What have you, so you have kind of wind things down now with some of your business folks, is that correct?
Yes.
Because of the time frame that we're in with, October and the small business filing and so forth. So going into, how do people prepare? How do they get themselves ready, for those conversations? I recommended, meeting quarterly with their CPA or their accountant. What are some of the steps that they take to get themselves ready for when they come to the table to have these conversations with their CPA or their accountant?
Typically, if we're looking at tax deductions, what the CPA is going to want to see, or the tax planner or the proactive tax planner will want to see, are the last 3 years. They're going to want to see what they've done in the last 3 years. Now, these can be personal returns and business returns. If it's a C Corp, all they're going to need are the business returns, unless you want the CPA to do your personal returns as well. They're going to want to see both. If it's a pass-through entity like an LLC, they're going to want both, the business returns and the personal returns. And so getting those documents together, and then jot down for yourself, write down a list of the questions that you need to have answered. And we've already kind of touched on it, but one of the other questions I want to circle back to is, what happens if I get audited?
Linda.
You want to know that specifically. You also want to know who's going to be doing the work. Are they going to be doing the work? Or do they have an intern who's going to be doing the work?
Right.
That's important. That's an important question as well. And so, business owners and individuals both, you can go online and look up a list of questions. Just Google, what are the best questions to ask a new CPA? How should I interview a CPA? If I'm changing CPAs, What are the things I need to ask my new CPA? What firms are out there that can help me with these tax deductions? What firms are out there like Linda's, that can help me with this tax? Here's what typically happens with us, Valerie. We'll start working with a business owner, and they'll say, well, I think my CPA handles that. And we'll say, well, typically they don't, because it's a specialty.
Oh,
They haven't learned it. But let me ask you this. Here's a question for you to ask your CPA. Go back and ask them, as an example, over the last 3 years, how much have you returned for me in the R&D credit? And if the CPA says, oh, you're not eligible for that, you're too small, bingo. They don't know what they're talking about. You come back to us. That's why we're in business. I have a business I'm working with right now where we're going to get them back about $600,000. That's larger than our normal amount. It's our average is about 200,000. So 600 is bigger. And he went back to his CPA, and his CPA says, oh, well, I don't do that because it's a specialty and I'm too busy in my practice, and I would have to go back to school for a year to learn how to do that. So if Linda's firm can do that for you, move forward. That's what his CPA that he's used for 20 years. He's a good friend, because with the R&D specifically, the law changed in 2016 when Obama had the PATH Act that took effect. And R&D's been around for 40 years. The big companies like Amazon and Microsoft and all of that, they've been taking advantage of that for decades.
Absolutely.
You read in the news, oh, Amazon didn't pay any federal taxes.
Right.
That's why.
Exactly.
They have tax attorneys on staff who are looking for these. They're not loopholes. The R&D
are legit.
Is a permanent part of the tax code and has been since 2016. And for 35 years before that, it was a temporary one that got extended for 3 or 4 or 5 years every single time from 1971 through 2016. Now it's permanent. And it was expanded so that the mid-size and smaller businesses can take advantage of it. I can't tell you how many construction companies we've worked with in the last 2 years where we've found 80, 90, 125. I have one right now in Colorado that we're just finishing up her case. We're going to be able to get, she's a small construction company. We're going to be able to get $125,000 back for her. And, we've gone from a low of $22,000 for a single practitioner chiropractor in Alabama to a high of 1.94 million for a multiple location paving company in Southern California. But that's the range. The typical recovery is about 200,000. But, it doesn't matter what the amount of money is. If it's 20,000 or if it's $2 million, it's money they didn't have.
Right.
And it comes back to them tax free because it's a refund from the IRS, because the IRS never sent them a letter saying, oh, we owe you some money. File this form and we'll get it to you.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
No, it will not happen. It will not happen. Excellent. I mean, again, I'm on the edge of my seat, and I don't know about, listening audiences and those that are going to be watching this. I mean, watch this. I can't implore you enough. If you feel like you're not understanding something in this, or you've got more questions or whatever, I will put both of our information in the description when I get ready to post this here. But I also encourage you to go back and rewatch this, re-listen to this. I mean, this is why, part of the reason why I do what I do and use my little platform back here in the mountains of North Carolina to give other people a platform to come and share their expertise. And so, this helps to push our paradigm, because I don't know everything. You know what I mean? And we don't know everything, but when we can bring people together to collaborate and talk about a particular area, whether it's business, whether, tax code, all the nuances that we have within business, and to maintain our business, when we can bring people together and dialogue about it and get the full picture, we all are able to eat at the table. We all leave the table full. And so that's why I do what I do with Dimensional Talent Streams on my podcast, is to bring people like Linda so people can be informed. And so I can kind of be a herald and use my platform to herald and bring other people on so that we can hear different perspectives and hear our people being successful, and hear how people are coming through issues and how they worked through the issues and get the resources that we need. So Linda, as always, I always enjoy when you come on, and this is probably the second time I've had you on, but we had such a ball when you first came on that I was like, okay, perfect time to get her on right now. And it's been a while since we really sat down and chatted. And so, what's going on in your personal life, our personal life, and then we're coming together as colleagues with our platform through the Terry Wilson 3 platform. And mentioning the Terry Wilson 3 platform, you can find Dimensional Talent Streams every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tw3Radio.com, as well as a new development on LJDNpodcast.com, where you can find me there every Tuesday and every Saturday. So Dimensional Talent Streams is expanding podcast-wise. So Linda, thanks again. Give us again your information and tell us where we can find you, podcasts and all, because I want to tell you guys that this woman that we have on she really is a gift to Dimensional Talent Streams and to so many people. So I implore all of you to rewatch this video, rewatch it. If you've got questions, comments, I will have all that information in the descriptor, put it in there, and reach out to me, reach out to her, because it's just not about me. This platform is to also for whomever I have allowed to come on here as well. So Linda, give us all your information, podcast included, Terry Wilson 3 platform as well. Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And you might tell that I'm really passionate about what I do. I mean, small businesses are the backbone of our country. Yes. And over the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, they have been very, very hard hit. So every single small business that I can help refund, get a refund for them, or help them with their tax planning so they're not paying so much, or go back 3 years and get that money back, whatever I can do to help them. That's my passion. That's my mission in life, if you will, because it's just so enjoyable, and I never know from day to day who I'm going to talk to. So it makes every single day exciting. I'm always excited to get up because I'm Pacific time. I'm in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
So it's always exciting to me to get up and find the emails and the voicemails that have already come in for that day. It may be 7 or 6 in the morning my time, but it's 9 or 10 their time.
Yeah.
It's always just, like I said, I love what I do, and I've been in and out of this business for over 30 years. And I know that I'm never going to retire. It's just too much fun. But people can reach out to me. It's Linda Wilson Gordon, and you can email me, linda@northstarmarketinggroup.com. You can go to my website at northstarmarketinggroup.com. There are some videos on there. There's some information on there. You can text me or call me at 206-569-8188, and I will get back to you just as quickly as I can. As you might suspect, I am on the phone a lot, and so but I will return your phone call or your text as soon as possible.
And podcast, Terry, the TW3 podcast, where can we find
I have paused that podcast for a while. I'll probably be picking it up again after the first of the year, but I've had some things going on where the time that it takes to produce that, as you already know, is pretty considerable, and I just haven't been able to do it because of the other things that are going on. But I just want to thank you again, Valerie, for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure to talk with you, whether we're on the show or just chatting personally. It's just always a pleasure to talk with you.
Oh, it was so good to have you. I always have a ball. We'll have you back on again. We're just going to make you a regular part of the Dimensional Talent Stream guest list. And just, you know, you're just family. You really are family and such a gift. I said it before. I always honor you. I honor you. I honor you for what you do. I just can't say enough. And as our listeners and viewers can see, we're both passionate about what we do. And this is, you know, scripture talks about in him we live, we breathe, and we have our reason for being. And truly what Linda and I do is what we have been gifted with and have been put in our breath, has been a part of our breath. So Linda, again, thank you, thank you, thank you. That is going to wrap it up for us here on Dimensional Talent Streams. I'm Valerie Williams. I will see you again next week. Linda, stay right there if you can. Bye-bye, audience. See you next week.